What's up, guys? Brian VANDUYN here. Kind of wanted to do a video and just kind of reminisce about the good old days of when I first started my dump truck business. You know, basically almost 4 years ago, 3.5, 4 years ago. And just kind of tell you guys, like, if you guys are trying to start a business, you know, you're gonna make some crazy mistakes, and you're gonna look back at yourself and you're gonna say, man, I was a stupid mofo. You're gonna look back and you're gonna say, man, that was the stupidest thing I ever did. Like, how did I make it through this? So I came up with I just took like a minute to write down a list of 10 things that happened when I first started my business. And, what was I thinking type things, right? What's up, Chris? So this is my list of 10 things that could have put me out of business before I even really got rolling, or my list of things that, like, I was so stupid. Like, gives you an idea of how dumb I was, right? So number one, the first thing that was kind of a clue as to how stupid I was, when I first started looking at dump trucks, I was on Craigslist. I found two of the cheapest dump trucks out there. One was $16,000 and it was in Yakima. The other one was $10,000 and it was in Sultan. Sultan was closer. The picture on the thumbnail was the picture of the Craigslist ad, right? That was it, right? And so, yeah, Peyton, but dude, these were some of the stupidest things. Like, if I could reach back in time and smack myself, I would do that today. I would reach back and smack myself. No, so he was trying to sell it to me. So the first one I found was $16,000. The one I bought, the guy had it listed for $10,000. I ended up getting it for $8,000 cash. But in hindsight, I shouldn't have paid more than $3,000 for this truck. All right, so let me go back and tell you, this is how stupid I was. Okay, when I showed up at the place to look at the truck, the guy wasn't there, right? He was doing something else. He was busy or something, and he wasn't there. So I had time to look over everything before he even showed up, right? So the first thing I did, one of the first things I did was I checked the oil, right? Pulled the dipstick out. No oil on the dipstick. No oil on the dipstick. Okay? And there's this puddle underneath the truck about like this big, of oil, right? Probably about that big. A puddle of it. No oil on the dipstick. It was like this far down on coolant, right? In the radiator, about this far down. The frame was cracked. Obviously, I knew that. It had bald tires with different rims on it. And it had, like, I remember to this day, the drop axle tires, both of them had this crack going all the way around the inside of the tire, about that wide. Like, I don't even know how they were holding air to this day. I still don't understand it. Right? So the guy showed up, right? And I said, hey, man, there's no oil on the dipstick. This is what he said to me. He's like, oh, I don't think that's the right dipstick. I think that's a different dipstick. Wake up, Brian. Wake up, man. How stupid can you be? Like, and I said, dude, I think it's low on oil. It's not even on the dipstick. He's like, oh, yeah, that thing leaks. Let me add a gallon to it. And then there was enough oil just touching the bottom of the dipstick, right? He didn't have any coolant. So another thing this is how stupid I was, right? Before I left, I told the guy, said, it's in really rough shape. The best I can do is 8,000. And he's like, nope, can't do it. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to take off then. And I was getting ready to leave. And then he was like, wait. Let's see what we can work out here. I say 8,000 is my top dollar, man. I can't go any higher than that with the condition it's in. He's like, okay, I'll take it. And so, yes, she runs like a top, Chris. But just listen real quick. So I gave him the cash. He signed over the title. I didn't even do a test drive on this truck before I paid this random dude $8,000. It took me like 6-7 months to save up, right? I didn't even test drive the thing, right? So he started it, right? It would only build to like 60 PSI air because it had this leak in the dash, an air leak that was so bad. Like you could hear it. Psh, it was so bad it wouldn't even build to 60 pounds of air, right? Then, like, this was how stupid I was. I knew nothing about dump trucks. He, did the PTO, lifted the box up. The box, when he had it fully raised, the highest it would go, the bottom of the box was at the top of the cab. That's it. It only went up like one stage. That was it. Like, I didn't even know. I was like, oh, yeah, it goes up. It tips. I mean, that's all you need, right? That's how stupid I was, guys. Like, I didn't know there was 3 stages to the hydraulic ram, right? I was like, oh, yeah, it goes up. That's good. Perfect, Then, right, so no test drive, no oil on the dipstick, low coolant, cracked frame, bald tires with cracks in them. The key... Here's the key. I still have the key to this day. I don't know why I kept it, but I just kept it. That's the key right there to my truck. It's broken. There is no key. The key is broke off in the ignition. You can use a screwdriver to start this thing, right? The key is broke off in the ignition, and push button start. I was like, that's all I need. Push button start, ivory steering wheel. We're ready to roll, And so then I was like, so how do you shut this thing off? He's like, I just put it in second and stall it. I just hold the brakes and just drop the clutch. Oh, man. Like, there wasn't even an off button on this dump truck, guys. Like, the dude that was selling it to me stalled it to shut it off. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. I was brain dead, man. I was so set on starting a dump truck business, starting any business, really. I was just so desperate to get out of, the guy holding me down. I did the stupidest thing in the world, and yeah, run so good it wouldn't shut off. That's exactly, Okay, so then there's that. So the box didn't go up. It also didn't even have a muffler, right? It was cut off underneath the cab. Like, there was no muffler. The muffler was in the bed. I got the thing home. I don't know how I made this business work, guys. It literally is kind of a miracle, like, that I made it work. Every day after work, just grinding and grinding and fixing stuff and fixing stuff and fixing stuff, And I, there was even one day where the hydraulic system was leaking, right? And I was like, oh, I'm a tanker driver. I know how these fluids work. You shut this valve and that shuts off the flow, and then boom, no more leaky. I had the PTO on. I shut that valve and it blew the seal right around the filter, and it just sprayed like 5 or 6 gallons of hydraulic fluid all over my driveway because I didn't know what I was doing. It's so amazing. Did I even made it past that? God was looking out for me. There's no other way to put it. Like, how do I succeed after I made all of these stupid decisions? Like, how do you succeed after you do all of this stupid stuff? Like, it just doesn't line up, I even had let's see, when was that? It was probably my first summer in. It was my first summer or my second summer. I can't remember. I was driving on the freeway and the trailer literally came unhooked from the truck. It came unhooked. Right? The trailer was going like this and I was going in a straight line. And I made it over to the side and I didn't kill myself somehow. I didn't kill myself. I didn't kill anybody else. Nobody got hurt. Like, how does this stuff happen and I'm still in business? It's a miracle. There's just no other way to put it. Yeah, it definitely came unhooked. So, Chris, it's funny you say that, right? So, the guy that I bought the truck, I've never seen him again. But last year, I was driving the thing up I-5 northbound, heading to Seattle, and some guy in a red pickup hauling an equipment trailer was like, hey, like getting my attention, like I ran him over, like I bumped into him or something, And then we were in stop and go traffic, and he's like, dude, I dropped that truck off insulted, like, I can't believe you made it like so far with this truck. Like, he was like so impressed. It was the craziest thing. He's like, dude, I seen what that truck used to look like. You totally changed it and this and that. And it was just, that was cool when that happened. He's like, I drove that truck before, man. It was so cool, Here's what I'm getting at in this video. You can absolutely know nothing about what you're trying to do. Nothing. Like, I knew nothing about dump trucking, right? And I still made it work. Now let's talk about why did it work, right? How come my business is so successful now? It's hard work, man. Hard work. If you are prepared to work your tail off and work, 1,000,000 hours a week, if you do, if you're always trying to help people out, and do the right thing, it's going to come back to help you out. I mean, those are the only two things I can think of. Like, that's the only reason why I'm still so successful, in my business, is because I work hard, I show up on time, I do everything I can, and I try and go the extra mile. That's literally all it takes. You don't have to know anything, and you can make it happen, You can make it happen. I still don't understand how I made it, but it happened. You got a Honda 3-wheeler a few days ago. That's cool. They don't make 3-wheelers anymore. You lit your recliner on fire. That's funny. The hood was jacked up. Yeah, so the hood, The hood was jacked up. It didn't even have the cables to hold the hood up. So I had to put a sawhorse in front of the truck when I would pop the hood open. Just hit the brakes in reverse. You know, it's so crazy. Let me catch up on some of these comments I missed here. It must have been love at first sight with your truck to buy that thing. Dude, Peyton. Dude, the orange and blue was mine and my wife's wedding colors. It was like orange and blue was all I seen. And I was like, sold. Like I bought the thing before I even looked at it, man, because it was orange and blue. I was like, yep, it's a sign, man. That's a sign. I'm doing this. You know, that's how stupid I was. Oh, he was laughing his way all the way to the bank, Chris. I know he was. He was laughing all the way to the bank when he took that $8,000 cash. He's like, yeah, I just got to play it cool like I'm giving this guy a smoking deal, and then he'll be out of my hair, and I'll go spend this before he can come back with the truck. Like, I remember the day I brought it home. Like, I started it up. I was revving it up, and there was so much smoke coming out of the thing. I thought for sure it had a blown head gasket. Like, I literally thought it had a blown head gasket. My wife was like, before we bought it, my wife looked at me, and I said, honey, I think we should get it. And she's like, what? Like, are you serious? And I'm like, yeah, I think we can make it work. I'm like, I don't think $10,000 is a fair price. I'm going to offer him $8,000, and that's as low as I can go. And she said, okay, if you think so, you know, if you think you can do it, I'm gonna back you up, you know. And I remember we left Sultan, and this thing left this cloud of smoke bigger than this shipping container. That's how bad it was. And I drove probably like 5-10 miles down the road to a Texaco. Me and my wife stopped and got a milkshake. And I put the milkshake in this, I had some duct tape or something. And I just set it in there and put it on the hood. And that was my redneck cup holder. And then we stopped and I put like $200 in fuel in it. You know, because it was empty, of course, you know. And I drove home. Like nothing was wrong with the truck. I passed like 6 or 7 state patrols. And I had like 60 PSI of air. It was the funniest thing. I'm like, man, somebody's gonna pull me over and I'm gonna be screwed. I'm just gonna tell them I just bought the thing. I'm trying to get it home so I can work on it. They would have told me, no, this needs to be trailered. This is not going anywhere in its condition. Dude, I just revved that sucker up like I was, you know, like I stole it. You know what I mean? Whoops, whoops. You know, smoking everybody out on 405. And it was just, I got so many looks driving that truck home. Those people were looking at me like, who is this redneck? Like, he's really going to blow all that smoke all over my car? Like, it's like, there's nothing I can do, man. It smokes. That's not my fault. Nothing I can do about the smoke, you know. And it was loud, too. It was so loud. And then what did I do? I went straight piped it. So that's another thing. So the truck came with an exhaust, right? It was in the bed. And I fabricated that up to work, right? And then it was like 2 months in after I had bought the thing. I worked on a whole bunch of stuff. I was taking it down to Tenino, right? I was taking it down to Tenino. And I got pulled over by State Patrol. And he pulled me over because the license plate was spray painted black. And I was like, officer, I just bought the thing. I'm taking it down here to get it worked on. He's like, yeah, it looks like it needs some work. I pulled you over because the license plate was spray painted. I want to check the registration and see if it's stolen and all that stuff. And I said, yeah, I just bought it. Here's everything, you know. He's like, oh, cool. You know, make sure you get everything fixed at this shop. I said, yes, sir, And then they took the box off, and then I came back to Tenino, picked the truck up, and I was taking it home, and then I was going to take it to Freightliner. I was probably 20 miles away from home. My wife was behind me, and I was on this back road just cruising, bobtailing, no box on, no mud flaps. The shop told me they were going to put mud flaps on there so I could get home, without worrying about breaking somebody's windshield or something. And I was worried I was going to get pulled over for that, not having any mud flaps. Because those tires were straight up aggressive, right? They were brand new mud terrain tires. I'm surprised I didn't get pulled over for that. So I'm 20 miles away from home, and then the muffler falls off the truck. One of the clamps came undone, and it was dragging behind the truck. I had to pull over immediately, and we had a ratchet strap in the back of my wife's car. I pulled the muffler off all the way and ratchet strapped it to the frame, and then just boogied on home the rest of the way. And then that's when I decided I was going to straight pipe the truck. I was like, yeah, man, screw these stupid mufflers. I'm just going to make sure, I'm going to weld one-piece muffler. And I have a one-piece muffler on there now because it's all welded. I welded it all before I put it on. Too many clamps loosened up when I was driving down the road. And so, yeah, that muffler fell off. And then I straight piped it. Everybody knows the video. I straight piped it. Whoop, whoop, that thing was so loud. I literally could not drive it with the window down, the passenger window. And the passenger window automatically falls on its own. Just whenever it decides it wants to go down from vibrations, it just goes down. I literally had to hit the up air switch on the passenger window every 2 minutes because it would go down this far, and it was so loud you had to bump it up. Every time I drove past a ricer, I was like, yeah, man, that thing sounds so cool. Everybody was like, that is so obnoxious. It was nuts. I even got kicked off of a job site because of how loud it was. And that's the day I realized, I'm like, Brian, as cool as it is and as loud and, obnoxious as it is, you don't want to hurt your business in that way. So, put a muffler on it. It's still going to sound loud and cool, and it's going to be bearable, Another thing about the truck, right? So when I first bought it, you had to peg the RPMs to get the box to go up. I'm talking 2,500 RPMs just to get the box, and it would just go like this. And my buddy Pat, he said, Brian, is there something wrong with your PTO or your box? Why does it go up so slow? I'm like, I don't know, man. That's just the way it is. I guess the older trucks, that's just the way it is, And he's like, yeah, I guess, That day I got kicked off the job site. At the end of the day, the box would not lift the load. I was doing on-site hauling, and I figured it's just because they overloaded me, right? It would not lift it. They had to bring an excavator over there, dig the box out, and it would not go up even empty. So then I had to take it to a shop, and we found out that the cable going to the detent, when you pull the lever back to go into the up position, wasn't clicking into the detent, so the fluid was just circulating instead of going into the cylinder. Once we tightened up that linkage, boom, you put that thing in up, you don't even have to rev it up, and it goes, you rev it up, it goes boop, 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 boop. It goes quick, But, man, dude, I tell you, I don't know how I survived in business with that truck. And the thing that still kills me every time I think about it is that truck still runs today. It still goes out there and makes that money every single day. It's you literally cannot kill this truck. It's unkillable, And It's definitely got its quirks, you know. And I've tried to straighten a lot of those out since I've owned it. But man, let me tell you what. How did I make it this far in business? You know, I've talked with Blake before about him and his business, and dude, he could tell you the same stories I'm telling you. You know, about when his motor blew up, he dropped it off at a shop. They fixed it. He drove it home and the motor blew up again, and he had to replace that motor in his driveway. Like, how do we get through this stuff? Like, that's what I want to know. Like, somebody's looking out for us, and you know, amen to that, crony. Old legends never die. They just blow thicker, more dense smoke and get louder. Yeah. So, like, and every single business owner I've ever talked to has these stories like, dude, I don't know how we made it through this. Like, the last company I worked for, Big Rigs, the owner's son flipped the tanker over. How did they, loaded with fuel, they flipped it over on the freeway? How did they not go bankrupt from that? You know, like, there's just so many experiences, like, as a business owner, you know, and a lot of you guys are so worried about making a stupid mistake that you are too afraid to get into business. You're too afraid to try it, you know? You're just like, oh, I don't know, man. What if this doesn't go right, or I run out of money, or this or that, or, you know, you really, to make it in business like we have, you just have to say, you know, I don't care, whatever it takes, we're going to make this happen. You know, you got to have that attitude of, it don't matter, we're just going to go for it. Like, if we screw up, we screw up. Live and learn, you know. I just wonder how I went from that old red truck to what we have going now. That's exactly what I'm saying, Blake. Like, how did we start out with an 85 Detroit that had no oil on the dipstick? It literally leaked 1 gallon per day of oil. 1 gallon per day. That's how much my Detroit leaked per day. 1 gallon. I had to put a gallon of oil in that thing every single day for like the first 3 months or 4 months. First 4 months of my business, I put a gallon of oil in that truck every single day. And then finally I dropped it off at the shop and I said, man, that rear main seal is leaking too much. I think that's what it is. I need it fixed ASAP. They fixed that. They did the clutch. Cost me like, I think, $3,000 or $4,000 or something like that. And then it went from a gallon a day to like 2 gallons a week, maybe. You know, so like way better. Dude, I can't believe I drove that old truck 450 miles a day for a week at the end of my first season, and top speed was 60 miles per hour. Live and learn, but always pay cash. Amen to that. Always pay cash, you know. That, I think that's part of what got me through too, is always paying cash. Like, if I would have started putting that stuff on credit cards, dude, that debt would have stacked up so fast, like, it would have murdered me. How much pain can you handle? Amen, right there, Kyle. If you're going to be a business, you got to... And I know Justin's got these same stories, because I've talked to him about it. Like, I think it was his first or second year, his truck blew the motor like twice in a row or something. I remember him saying something like that. Everybody's got those. You had to check the U-bolts on the way to and from the job sites. Amen, dude. Amen, Blake. Like, dude, there's so many things. Like, if people knew the things that we've been through, they would just shake their head. They would just shake their head, man. But look at us now, Blake, though. You got, 3 trucks. I got the 3 trucks now, 2 excavators, a dozer, Like, it's just, Justin's got 13 trucks. Like, it's just amazing, like, where we came from to where we are now. And it just goes to show, what's that one saying? It's fortune favors the bold or something like that. Vice grip the starter wires to the frame and on site to get the day done. I've never done that one, Blake, but I can tell you I've used some vice grips and caged a spring or 2 in my day, because the airline blew or something. It's just like, dude, how did we get through this? It's just so nuts, man. Reminiscing those good times, that we've all done some crazy stuff to make it happen, And a lot of people, they won't talk about it, They don't mention that stuff. They don't talk about it. They just try and forget it. But honestly, I think it's important that we talk about this stuff. For one, it makes great storytelling. Everybody wants to hear these stories. For number 2, it just shows how human you are, And number 3, like, the people that are just starting out, they got to know that they can make these mistakes and still recover from them, Like, there's tons of times where you're going to think, am I going to financially recover from this? Like, is it even possible? Yeah. I know everybody does, old crony. It's just like when I listen to my grandpa tell his stories about the days where, he had this one girlfriend, right? And he showed up at this one place to pick her up to go on a date. She got in some other dude's car, and then they went on this wild chase where they were doing like 60 or 70 down this road, and he went over an embankment and then drove back up the other side or something. And then he told me the story about his brother. He's like, man, his brother had this Corvette, and it was just like the nicest, the fastest thing ever. And he's like, he says his brother was racing this guy, and he's like, I'd speed up, and then my car would start to drift closer to his, And then I started to speed up, and my car would drift closer to his. So finally, I just floored it, And then I looked at the guy when I was passing him, and I went like this, and the car was going straight, Because those old convertibles, or those old, can't remember if it was a Cobra, or I think it was a Cobra. It was some sort of convertible. It was like an old convertible. He's like, when you get up that fast, the front wheels come off the ground. The airflow just lifts them up, and you got no steering, And it's just like, some of those old stories, man, they just never die. And, if you talk to any old guy, I guarantee you they got some cool stories to tell, And it's just crazy. It's just crazy. Like, and the other thing is like, when you talk to somebody who's old like that, they usually got like 4 or 5 stories. And you will know their story because they will tell it to you over and over again because it still plays through their mind like it happened yesterday. Like my grandpa still tells me those same stories over and over. And it never gets old because you can just see how crazy it was through him telling the story. And I just picture myself when I'm that old, I'm going to have these dump truck stories. That's what I'm going to be telling my kids. Like I was driving down I-5 southbound and the trailer popped off, and I made it over to the shoulder, It just these type of things like that. It's just so crazy, so crazy. And we still all managed to make it through somehow. Yeah, Crony, dude, all of us have said we will never financially recover from this. I knew for a fact I was never going to financially recover from buying that dump truck. I remember there was one point I got so depressed. Like, the truck was in the driveway. The batteries were dead, right? I hadn't heard the thing start in over a month, and I went out to go start it, and the battery just went, and I was like, oh man, like, and at that point, I also was struggling to find somebody to fix the frame, right? The guy that said he was gonna fix it, Lakewood Towing or whatever, I think that's what it was, Lakewood Towing or Lakewood Collision. That guy was leading me on like, yeah, man, I'll fix that thing. It's gonna cost you like 10 grand or whatever. I said, yeah, let's do it. I got the money. Let's do it. Well, I'm really busy right now. Give me a month, to get it in the shop. And I'm like, well, can I just park it at the shop, until you open and then you can work on it? No, we're really just, we don't have any room and this and that. I called him up a month later. I said, dude, what's up? Can I park? Let's get my truck in there. Oh, I'm still super swamped and this and that. And it's like, dude, if you don't want to work on it, just tell me, man. I'll go find somebody else. And that's when I was like, okay, time to pay Freightliner, pay him the $300 to tell me what I already knew was wrong. And then, it worked out in my benefit. But then I thought I was never going to recover. Like, I thought I was never going to get that truck on the road. And my grandpa reminds me all the time. He's like, Brian, you remember when you worked on that truck for 7 months and never seen a dime? It didn't make a single dime. And you worked on it every day for 7 months straight. You never gave up. That's how you have earned what you have now. Because of that. That initial 7 months of walking through hell, got you onto the lane you're on right now, and that's where you're headed, And it's just like, it took a major sacrifice to get that truck and get it on the road and get it working. I mean, everybody's seen the videos. I got friggin' 300 plus videos of me working on that truck. Doing stupid stuff to it, like fixing an airline here, replacing the brakes, replacing the tires, putting lights on the cab, putting mirrors on it, new seat, just all that stuff. It's crazy to look back, And I try and look back all the time and watch those videos just to kind of remind myself, this is what I went through to be where I'm at today. It was not a cakewalk, but it's definitely been worth it, And for any of you guys that are trying to start a business, it ain't no cakewalk, but let me tell you what, when you get 4 or 5 years down the road and you look back, you're going to say, it was worth it, it was definitely worth it, The trick is, also, once you get to where we're at, 5 years in, then the trick is trying to stay humble about it. When you introduce yourself, you got to try not to be a bragster, try not to brag to everybody, just tell them like it is, but, just try and be down to earth, I still take guys out on road trips, so last week, a guy called me up and said, hey man, thinking about buying a dump truck. You mind if I do a ride along with you? I said, yeah, man, it's cool. He's like, are you sure it's not weird or nothing? I said, no, man, people ask to do that kind of stuff all the time, you know. So I told him, I said, you know, this is the day I got available. If you want to make it work, be here at this time. You know, I got loaded, stopped at the gas station. He hopped in. He rode with me the whole day, basically, except for the last load, you know. And, you know, we just chatted it up, you know, just talked about the dump truck business, the dump truck world in Washington, and, you know, what the industry's like, and, you know, what to look for and what to do, and, you know, just etiquette going in and out of pits. And yeah, that'd be cool, old crony. Have a big Peterbilt neon sign. That'd be sweet. Going from working construction to getting a truck seems like would be a cakewalk. Larry, I've always thought going into business was going to be a cakewalk. I'll be honest. I thought it was going to be super easy, you know, and it was an open palm to the face, you know, like, and I was a truck driver, right? So going from a truck driver to another truck driving job, like, oh, no brainer, you know. But the things that hit you, this is what hits you that you don't know about. Okay. The first thing that hits you is you think you're going to work 50 hours, 60 hours a week just driving your truck. Scratch that off. You're working 100+ hours. Okay, because you got your trucking that you're doing, you got your dispatching that you're also doing, you got your books that you're doing, your advertising that you're doing, the repairs and maintenance that you're doing. You're also doing, you know, customer relations, you know. The list can go on and on and on. Like, you know, it's just, it's insanity on how much more responsibility you have when you run a business. You know, that you think you kind of grasp an idea of what it entails, but you really have no clue until you jump into it. Like, that's, at least that's my experience. Like, I thought this was going to be cakewalk. I just hop in my truck, I go, I send them a piece of paper, and then done, deal. No, it's not that simple. You know, you got, I just finished this stupid paperwork thing I've had over my head for probably about 2 months now, 2 or 3 months now. I did, I was working for the rock quarry, and it ended up being a prevailing wage job, right? Which they didn't tell me ahead of time. And it was on a Saturday. Luckily, I was the one that ended up doing it, not one of my drivers. And so I had to go online, and I had to fill out the affidavit, and then I had to fill out an intent form, and then I had to do certified payroll, like all this stuff for $400. Like, not worth it at all, you know? But it's just one of those things that you don't realize what you're doing until you get into it, and then next thing you know, you got to do this mountain of paperwork for some stupid stuff, you know? I personally hate prevailing wage jobs. I do not like doing prevailing wage jobs, and I've made it pretty clear to all my customers, if it's prevailing wage, count me out. I don't want to deal with the paperwork. It's not worth the extra $5 an hour or whatever it is, because you end up spending more than that in just time filling out the stupid paperwork for the government, right? And so that's another reason why there's so much, everybody's always asking, man, why does it take so long to get these highways fixed and this and that? It's because the government screws everybody over with the mountain of paperwork. You know, all these requirements. I had to take, let me tell you something about that stupid prevailing wage. I did 2 loads. I got paid by the ton. I made literally $500. That was it, $500. 2 loads on a Saturday. I had to take a 6-hour course on L&I website about prevailing wage jobs. They required me to fill this crap out before I could submit my affidavit. 6-hour course. Was L&I paying me for that 6 hours? No. I had to do that on my own time. So, I mean, that right there just goes to show you, like, there's so much more involved with running a business than you think. But I do think it is worth it. It's definitely worth it. But it's a pain in the butt. Yes, 6 hours. It was a 6-hour course. Like, it went through all the different types of prevailing wage. It went how to look through the prevailing wage rates, what qualifies as prevailing wage, what doesn't. You know, half the stuff didn't even apply to me. Like, half the stuff was, like, applied to a different industry. Like, if you're doing maintenance on this and that, or, you know, like how does this apply to me? I'm just a dump trucker delivering material, you know, like this. Why can't you make it industry specific, you know? But yeah, there's a lot involved with running a business. I mean, yeah, you got to get the wife to do that. Yeah. Believe me, Larry, I tried. I tried, Larry. She's like, nope. I ain't doing that. I got other stuff to do. I got to go do the laundry or whatever she had to do that day. I think it was the laundry that day. She's like, no, I got to do laundry. I'm out of clothes or something, you know? So I ended up getting stuck doing that. You know, and then today I got off work. So let me give you an idea. So I worked 9.5 hours on the ticket, right? So I drove an hour to the job site. It took me 2 hours to get back. So 9.5, 10, 11, 12. I worked 12.5 hours today, basically. Right? I got home. Here's what I had to do. I got home. Oh, yeah, I got an overweight ticket today, too, by the way. 4,000 pounds overweight. So now I got to figure out what to do with that. But I got home. I had to do my invoice for the day. Right? Had to fill that out, send that out. Then I had to send out statements for the companies that were overdue. Right? Did that. I finished up that affidavit thing, you know. Apparently, I filled out an extra affidavit on the L&I page. So then I had to go in, certified payroll. I also had, for the extra one, I had to put I had to file a no work intent or something like that. Then, did that. And then I reached out to my attorney and said, hey, you know, I got a CMV overweight ticket. Is this something that you can deal with? You know, I had to email him on that. You know, it's just like, it's totally nonstop. Hey, babe. I was planning on going on a ride because the weather was so nice. Then I had to do all that paperwork, and it just was not happening. What? You brought me a brownie? I'm just telling everybody all the stupid mistakes I made when I've been in business. Have I made some dumb mistakes?
I think everyone does when you first start out in business. I would think.
We got through them. Guys. What do you want? My dog's over here nudging my leg.
Yeah, food.
Why are you giving him any brownie?
I know.
He's tripping. Catch you later, old crony. A MacBook and HP printer. My biggest mistake. I have a MacBook. I actually like the MacBook, Brian. But I will say this. I had a desktop halfway through my business, and I had every QuickBooks on desktop, and then I bought a Mac. It didn't transfer over. Like, the stuff didn't quite transfer over. That was one of the biggest headaches of my whole business. That was a big headache. You know, I thought I was like, oh, this is going to be easy switch. No, it was not easy. Almost lost all my books. Almost had to start from scratch. But that's the things, you know, you don't know until you know, you know. That's what gets you. You don't know until you know. You know, and if you go on these Facebook groups, everybody is some sort of you know, basically know-it-all. You know, there's some sort of certified welder, or, you know, they're a know-it-all. Everybody's a know-it-all, you know. Oh, you gotta do this, or I know this, or I know that, you did this wrong. It's like, dude, you don't know till you know. Have you had problems with drivers? I hear that's the biggest problem in having a dump truck business. You know, Larry, that's a good question. I think everybody saw my first experience with the first guy I hired was a complete nightmare. The first guy I hired, you know, his grandma died. He couldn't show up to work. Then his grandpa died, and the next thing you know, he had a DUI. He worked a half a day for me, or half an hour, or whatever it was. And then he no-call, no-showed me, and at that point, I was like, "You're fired." You know, I just didn't even text him or call him. I just sent him his stuff. Texted him, or sent him his paycheck, and then halfway through the week, he's like, "Hey, man, I'm so sorry, I just got a DUI. Can I get my stuff, you know, and get paid?" I'm like, "Yeah, I already sent the check out. Good luck to you. Sorry about, you know, your experience or whatever, you know." And then I've literally been pretty lucky. I've been pretty lucky and pretty blessed, you know, with the next two drivers I've had pretty good luck, you know, with my drivers. Brandon, he's a rock star. That guy comes to work on time every day. He does his work. He never bothers me. He never calls me up to BS. You know, if there's something wrong, he tells me. If not, I don't hear anything from him. Like, I literally didn't even talk to him at all today. I emailed him the dispatch. He came, did it, went home. You know, that's the beauty, you know. And then, you know, his brother, you know, he's a little more of a handful. I love the guy. You know, he's got an L&I claim open right now, which I think sucks. You know, working around that definitely does suck, you know. But he's a great worker too, though. So, you know, it is what it is. So finding good drivers is definitely one of those things can really bite you in the butt if you know, if something goes wrong, something can really bite you in the butt. Yeah, he slipped on a piece of concrete, shifted. He got out of the truck and was looking to see if he was far enough back, and I guess a piece of concrete shifted and he fell on his shoulder. Now he's got physical therapy 2 days a week. You know, he basically takes the whole day off and does his physical therapy. So those 2 days I end up driving his truck, you know, which it's not that big of a hassle, right? But I do lose the potential to have my truck on the road those 2 days a week. You know, so since he's been on it, I've probably lost $2,000 or $3,000 just because I wasn't able to work my truck that day because I had to drive his truck, you know. But other than that, it's been nice also because on the flip side, when my truck doesn't have work, I just hop in that super dump and I make that money, you know, and then I get to keep it because I didn't have to pay somebody. So it's been kind of a wash, I would say, because I got to drive the truck, so I got to make more money for myself, and on the 2 or 3 days that I've missed working on my truck because I had to drive his, I lost some money, so it's been pretty much a wash. But I would like it to be over as soon as possible. I definitely want that to be over, but I have a feeling it might not be over quick. So we'll just have to see what happens. When somebody gets on L&I, you can't just fire them. There's definitely a more strict process, if you are trying to go that route. You got to document, this is why he's being fired. It's not because he has an L&I claim. It's because of this. No, he's not a milkman, Chris. He's not a milkman. The guy, he comes in, he works his tail off just as hard as his brother. They're both hard workers, They're both hard workers. He does his work, he doesn't, milk it out or nothing, They both get as many loads done as each other, But I'm paying him quite a bit of money, right? The guy, he doesn't really have, any financial responsibilities per se. Like, he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have kids, he doesn't have a girlfriend, right? So he doesn't need to make a killing in money, like, to make him feel like he's set. You know what I mean? So I might be paying him too much, and drivers are their own worst enemies. Like, as soon as they start making enough money to get by, that's all they want. That's all they want. So then they start turning work down because they're happy with the money they got. And then it's like, well, the work's got to get done, bro. I don't care how much money you're making. The work's got to get done. It's not necessarily a money thing. It's I'm trying to keep my customers happy by getting this work done, L&I is labor and industries. What's an L&I? Oh, labor and industries claim. Chad Reynolds says, true truck drivers are a dying breed. It's hard to find one that can drive, much more you can trust. Amen to that. I've been wrestling with two of them for hours, trying to print a truck number plaque. Not sure which one is giving me the grief. I feel your pain, Brian. I feel your pain. I feel your pain, man. Computers are not my forte. And let me tell you, when I switched from, it was a Dell computer to a MacBook Pro, boom. Love the truck, hate the business. Yes, that statement is very true for a lot of people, Brian. Love the truck, hate the business. You love driving the truck, you love doing the work, but all the extra work that comes with it is not what you love. It's just something you got to do just to make it happen. Lots of paperwork comes involved with doing business. Like, let me give you some examples, right? You got your insurance, right? You pay that twice a year. Then every single company you work for, most of them want a certificate of insurance. So you got to contact your insurance lady and say, hey, I need a COI for this company. Email it to them. Thank you. And then next thing you know, some companies you work for, they want, a certain amount of coverage. So then you have to get even more coverage, and the paperwork just stacks up. And then when you send them your invoice, you got to send them a W-9. Then you got to send them your COI every time you work for a different customer. If you don't send them that stuff, they don't pay you. And you got to send them statements. You got to send them the invoice. And I do all my invoicing through email, right? There are still guys out there that just send it in the mail. How do they do that? Like, there's no way. There is no way. You know how much time that would take? Printing off an invoice. Okay, typing it up, printing it off, folding it up, putting it in an envelope, putting a sticker on it, driving it to the post office, dropping it off every week. You know, that's extra 3 hours at least of work. When I just type it up, send. Type it up, send. Type it up, send. You know? Like, there's a lot of ways to streamline your business. You know, another thing, e-transfers, electronic transfer. Like, okay, for payments, when somebody's paying you, that's one of the things I wish all my customers would do, e-payments or ACH transfers, right? Eliminate the paperwork. Eliminate the post office. Eliminate the post office. I hate the post office. They're always behind schedule, losing my mail. You know, I get invoice payments, you know, they're 50 days out because the post office drug it out. Like, I look at the postmark date and this is like 3 weeks ago, and I'm just now getting it. It's like, what the heck just happened here? Yeah, I mean, see, and I got one customer that does e-payments. My biggest customer now finally does e-payments. Thank goodness. Thank goodness that Corey finally switched to that. That is such a blessing. So, I work for the Corey. You guys know that by now. Both my super dunks work for the Corey nonstop. Every single day, they work for the Corey. I used to have to do these invoices. I dreaded these invoices. I hated making these invoices because the Rock Quarry, they want every single ticket number listed on the invoice, right? They want every single customer listed on the invoice. They want almost the material that they were hauling listed on every single invoice for every single truck ticket. It would take me literally like 2 or 3 hours just to do one invoice for a week. Like a week-long invoice, you know, from Monday to Friday, it would take me like 2 or 3 hours to fill out. Because all the truck ticket numbers, I'd have to write which truck was on which job, at which address, because some customers had multiple addresses. It was like a 3-hour process. Now, they got it set up where all I have to do is they send me a hauler pay statement, right? They send me a statement with all the truck tickets, everything on it. All I got to do is sign it, e-sign it. I just click on email, do my little signature, done. Type my name in there, send. Guess what? Then the money just magically appears when it's supposed to. You're giving me PTSD. Oh, trust me, Brian. Dude, doing those invoices for the Corey, I was almost to the point where I was like, I don't know if I want to work for them anymore. Like, I love working for them because the consistency and the pay is decent. But doing these invoices, I want to shoot myself in the foot. Like, I was literally begging my wife, like, honey, you got to do this invoice for me. Because every time I see this list of like 300 truck tickets, like, and the way it was sent to me, I wasn't able to copy and paste stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay. Oh, and then I had to add up all the tonnage. Like, each truck ticket from each job, I had to add up all the tonnage slips. Like, oh man, it sucked so bad. You guys have no idea. Like, I was literally like on my calculator, like, okay, put my finger on this one. Okay, 25.6 plus 25.7 plus 23.3 plus 25.7 plus 23.3 plus, you know, and adding them all up. And you had to do this per individual job. So like if they switch jobs, that's on a separate invoice line item. It was a nightmare. It was a complete nightmare. Now all I do, click on the email, click sign, do my little signature, type my name in, and press send. And then all I do on my invoices, I don't even have to send them an invoice anymore. That's the invoice. All I have to do on my end is I just type in hauled for Washington Rock. I put that specific file number on my invoice. So if I ever need to go back, I can just pull it up, say, hey, I need to see this hauler statement number. Boom. I put Washington Rock, hauled for this, put the total, done. So much faster. So much faster. What would happen if you estimate all that? You think they check that? Oh no, they definitely check it. They definitely check everything. They don't let nothing slip, dude. They don't let nothing slip. If your invoice number does not match their invoice number, you're not getting paid. That's what it comes down to. Unless they messed up. Like if you have a truck ticket and it's not on there, and you say, hey, this hauler statement's missing this one, which it never happened, you know. The only thing I caught was 1 or 2 times where the rate pay was different than what my email said I was going to get paid for it. And I messaged them a few times. And I said, hey, I noticed that the rate for this one is different on the hauler pay versus what the email, the dispatch said. And they always cleared it up, you know. And they're like, oh, yeah, we just got a new office lady. She messed that up, you know, or whatever. Oh, I bet they did, Chris. I bet they did. Yeah, because now they don't have to go through 20 different, 30 different invoices per company per day. And every single trucking company has a different invoice style, right? Everybody inputs the information differently, right? Can you imagine an office lady looking at all these different invoices for the same job, but they all put the info in different orders? The OCD would drive me absolutely bonkers. Like, there's no way I could handle that. That's why I was like, honey, I need you to do this Washington Rock invoice because my dyslexia, like I don't have like super bad dyslexia, but I do have it a little bit where numbers start switching. If I look at numbers too long, they start going like this. It's like, wait a second, let's slow this down. I got to put my finger on this one and then do this and then move my finger down to the next one and then do this, like, and then you get it where you type the whole, this happened to me like 2 or 3 times. Got 90% of the way through the invoice. And then because I was not active enough on QuickBooks, it signed me out. And I was like, oh, it's on right now. It's on like Donkey Kong. Like I was like, I'm about to smash my computer screen, man. You don't have no idea. I worked on an invoice for like 2 hours and then all of a sudden it just disappeared. And I was like, you gotta be flipping kidding me. So every time after that, I was like, I do like 5 items, save. 5 items, save. And it just became such a hassle. Just invoicing one customer, Yeah, it was. And then I had other customers, right? We worked for Icon Materials, right? Those guys got a really screwed up system. They want you to go on to some sort of web page. They want you to fill out your invoice on their web page. Like, I was like, okay, not happening. I'm not going to work for you guys anymore because this is just too much of a pain in the butt for me. Like, if you can't just accept my invoice the way it is, then I'm not going to go on your web page and click on all this stuff and get all these numbers that you want, like job number, whoever the foreman was, or this or that, or it was just stupid. It was completely stupid, and it was overcomplicated. And I was like, You know, I didn't tell him. I just stopped working for him. I stopped answering the phone calls. I said, "Nah, man, I'm sorry, I'm busy." You know, like I loved working for him, but that was just too much for a redneck like me. I like to keep it simple. I have mild dyslexia too. Didn't find out till 8th grade. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think everybody has dyslexia. When you start looking at numbers that much, you're bound to switch some numbers around, man. Everybody has it. When you start looking at numbers that much, some people just got it worse than others. You know. Man, I put those new rubber tires on that Harley. I still haven't got to ride it yet. Since I put them on, dude, I've been dying to ride that thing. I want to see what it handles like with those new tires on it. Oh man, I bet it handles so good. I've been watching videos of people doing burnouts and rolling burnouts and drifting their bikes and stuff. Oh man, I want to try it so bad, but before I do any of that stuff, I know I need to put sliders or something on it, you know? And I'm not sure I got the commitment that it takes to do those kind of stunts. I definitely want to try a wheelie on it. I definitely want to try that. Wheelie a Harley is so cool. Like, popping that thing up, 12 o'clock noon. Dude, that is so cool. I watched so many videos today of that when I was dump trucking, getting loaded. I was just watching like nonstop stunt videos on Harleys. Is it an FXR? I'm not sure what that is, Chris. I'll just show you what it is. I have a Sportster 1200. No, it's a Sportster 1200. I think it's a V. Sportster 1200 V. I think is the model number or whatever. Wheelie fails. Watch those. I might have to do that, Brian, to keep me from doing some stupid, crazy stuff. Watch some wheelie fails. But I've done a lot of wheelies before. Like when I owned the KLX. Yep. Yeah, it's a 2016, Chris. It's got 6,000. Had 6,000 miles on it when I bought it. But it's basically, I mean, this thing is clean. I got it all cleaned up. This thing it's sweet. There are a few things I want to change. I've talked to the last live stream I did. Yeah, I got rid of the Cowie. I traded it in. And let me tell you what, that was a good decision, dude. This thing is so much more fun to ride. Like, I was going to go on a ride with my buddies with the Cowie, and then I decided that probably wasn't a good idea. So then I, traded it for this. So glad I got this. I just love the forward riding position. It's the best way to ride, in my opinion. I was going to ask you, I think, Brian, you were on here last time I started it up. How did the audio quality sound on my phone when I started it up? Could you guys hear it pretty good? Or was it like super staticky, loud, crappy audio? I'm going to start this thing up since I didn't ride. I can at least start it up. Listen to it. Where's that keyhole? All right, boys, I'm out here. can smell that. Oh yeah. I think I'm going deaf now. I should have put some earplugs in for that one. I gotta open up this other door too. Whew. Gonna give myself some asphyxiation right there. Bad to the bone. Dude, that thing is so freaking sweet, man. Wake up the kids. Yeah, that would definitely wake them up. One second, I'm gonna check the oil on this real quick. Check the oil now that I warmed her up. I'm pretty sure it's good. Okay. Let's check the oil real quick here. Oh yeah. Yep. We're good. Good on oil. Yeah, dude, just a few bikes, you know, like I owned a 400, the KLX 250. This is by far my favorite motorcycle out of all of them. There's no sneaking home at night. Yeah, no. No, the closest you could do to sneaking home, Brian, is coming in hot and pulling the clutch and shutting it off and coasting in. That's the only way you're going to sneak home at night with this thing. That's the only way. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, dude, that thing... I never really realized how much I liked Harleys until I bought this thing and started riding it. Dude, it is... It's a sweet bike. Pushing it. That's probably what makes it worth it. I have thing for hot rods. Would love to have one day. Yeah. I mean, dude, I love hot rods too. Like, I could totally see myself owning like a Chevy Nova or, you know, a Ford Mustang or, you know, some old muscle car. I freaking love muscle cars. And I love that Harley, dude. That thing, like, I'm not a big Harley fan. Like the Street Glides and those bigger bikes, they look cool, but they're not really my style. Like, I think the Sportster is like the perfect style for me, like styling. Like I love the style of like a bobber, but I can never ride a bobber. Like, they're cool to look at, but I can never ride one. The hardtail would kill my back, you know, and I'm not down for getting eaten up by the back tire. You know, that's just not what I'm going for, you know. And dude, that thing has so much torque, man. Like when you're you know, going down the road, first, second gear, you know, third gear, fourth gear, you know, even fifth gear, like that thing will put you in your seat, dude. It will just set you back. Like the feeling, the rush you get from the acceleration is just mind blowing, you know. And I had that with my CBR 600, but the stance is so different. You're like, when you're on a crotch rocker, you're sitting like this, you know, and you're just like, you don't even see the bike. You're just like looking, oh, it's like you're flying almost. With that, you feel like you're sitting on a beast, like, and you got it by the horns, and you're just like, yeah, let's go, you know. Like with the crotch rocket, you're just kind of like, you feel like you got launched out of a cannon, you know. You're just going so fast, you don't see nothing. It just goes, you know. With that, you get to take it all in. You're like, yeah, you know. It's so much cooler, personally. That's probably what makes it. Oh yeah, I already read that one. But I could totally see myself owning a hot rod or a muscle car, you know, 10 years from now, once we have our house built and everything. I can totally see that. But tomorrow, I probably won't get to go on a ride either, because I'm guessing it's going to be a long day, right? I got to hop in the International tomorrow, do that. I got to wake up at 4 in the morning, do that. And then I got to do the brakes on it. So, I'm hoping to get a ride in this week. I really want to go on a ride with those new tires. So, I guess it's just going to look pretty for a while until I can get her out. I made sure when I put that new tire on, I cleaned it all up, shined that rim. Because I was waiting for that tire for about 3 hours. So I totally polished that back wheel. It had a lot of gunk on it. Like, something sticky was on it. Like, I don't know what it was, but it was all over the rim. But I got it all off, got it all polished up. Ready to take that thing out. Cruise. Might go for like a night ride or something. You know, have chicken lights and chrome blasted. I am thinking about getting a bigger fuel tank for it. I think that's a 2.5 gallon fuel tank. Every time I fill up, it's like 1.7 gallons, you know, but it's on reserve at that point. So I'm thinking it's a 2.5 gallon tank. I don't think it's a 2 gallon tank. I think it's a 2.5. I just don't want to risk running out of fuel, if you know what I mean. I know I've gone, I think it was 15 miles. It was either 15 or 20 miles once the light came on. I think it was 15, maybe 20. Can't remember. But I want to know what it's good for. I know I'd like a bigger tank. Or some sort of auxiliary fuel tank somewhere on the bike. I was even considering doing, like, you know how they have those round bags on the front of the steering? You know, they have the bag. It's like a tool bag, basically. I was thinking of building a custom round fuel tank that's on the, you know, on the handlebars somewhere with like a stainless steel braided line going into it or something. That would be pretty cool. But, you know, with like a valve on it. So when the light came on, I could flip the valve and dump it into the primary tank. But I don't know. Maybe I'll just get a bigger tank. I gotta see what's out there, see what I like. I've seen a lot of people say when you get the bigger tank, they don't look as good. You know, they call what I got a peanut tank, I guess. I guess it's called a peanut tank. It's kind of a small tank. So, I don't know nothing about motorcycles. Well, Larry, let me tell you what, Larry. If you ever want to have super fun on a motorcycle, 1200. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna catch you guys on the next one. Thanks, and listen to me tell my stories and stuff. On the next one, don't forget to pound that like button, pound that subscribe button. Your video on your social media site of preference. Why is giving me a crash course on a hot air fryer? Dude, I've been hearing about those air fryers, man. I've been thinking about getting one for my wife. Don't tell her. But I've heard they're pretty cool. My buddy has one. He's like, get it now. So I've been thinking about buying one, but I don't know where we would put it in the camper. So anyways, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next one.